Hey everyone, welcome to the Empowered PCS. I'm here with Madeline and Melinda again. We're going to be bringing you some awesome information today. So just to kick things off, we're going to introduce ourselves again in case you're just jumping in. I'm Christina Zimmerman from Whidbey Island, Washington, and I also cover the Florida Panhandle.
I'm Madeline Friddle, and I'm in Jacksonville, Florida.
And Melinda Cruzzi-DePerna here in sunny San Diego.
All right, so hope everyone's doing well today. We're going to be talking about why it's important to choose a realtor, and not just to choose a realtor, but to find the right one. We all know how important it is when you're moving to an unfamiliar area. You don't know anybody there. You don't know the area at all. You need someone you can not only trust, but someone who's going to fight for you to get you the best deal and where you need to be. So it can get a little scary trying to find a realtor. It can get overwhelming. You know, if you go on to any of those different home search sites and you hit call realtor or ask a question to a realtor, you're going to get about 50,000 calls. And it could be calls from top agents, experienced agents, all the way down to someone who just got their license and has never sold a home before. So we're going to give you some tools, some questions that you can ask agents to get you the right agent for you, and to make sure that you're asking the right questions to find that person. So some of the things we're going to talk about are finding out how they understand the market, their knowledge of the market, their negotiating skills, attention to detail as far as managing deadlines for you, understanding the PCS process. What are they offering for you that's going to make it easier for you? And just understanding how to make this process as easy as possible for you, because we know how hard it is to PCS. There's already enough stress with it. The last thing you need is a realtor who's just basically sending you paperwork. So
yeah, let's take some weight off your shoulders, right?
Yes, that's what we're here for.
That's the goal.
So Melinda, you were going to start off with talking about kind of setting expectations. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I think one of the really important things is before you don't just start looking at houses or have an agent who just starts sending you things from the MLS. That's not where this starts. It starts with a in-depth interview that goes both ways. I call it a needs analysis. And then during that needs analysis, the agent setting expectations as well as you setting expectations from them. You know, we deal with people who are currently stationed all over the world. And like just a simple example is, how do you want to be communicated with? Well, if somebody's on a sub, it's going to be different. And who wants to be communicated with? Do you want these things to go to both people if there's two people involved? Is there somebody else coming in on the buying decision that we need to talk about? Finding out, here it's funny when we're dealing with townhomes and things like that, even asking the question, do you have a pet? How big is it? Okay, it sounds silly, but people want to talk about, well, I want a 3-bedroom house with 2 baths and a 2-car garage, and I want to be within 20 minutes of base. That's just the basic surface. And then here in San Diego,
Google search version.
Say that again?
It's like the Google search version. It's like, these are the basics, and we need to deep dive into like what's more important.
Right. We need to ask things like lifestyle questions. So if you went on any of the earlier episodes, I showed just how big the area is you could be. Well, what do you do? One of the questions is, when you're not working, what do you do? And then if there's a spouse involved, what do you do? Like, what do you like to do? I've had people that need to be near a dojo, or they ride horses, or they could care less about surfing, but they want to hike. And that can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of difference if you tell me you don't care about the surfing.
And you can't put that in a search engine either.
No. And if you don't ask those questions, you don't know. And your guys, you might get to come here on a home search. And right now you might not. And then you waste your time looking at 50 homes because they didn't ask you the right questions, and you go out for a day, a marathon day, the kids are crying, everybody's hungry. and it's just because they didn't spend the time. So we spent a lot of time chatting up front to find out what those needs are. And then on the flip side, back to the expectations, like here, it's been a seller's market for a long time. And unfortunately, our military people that are active duty don't get paid enough to have their pick and choose. So it's really competitive. So we have to talk about expectations that, let's just say you're pre-approved for $500,000 and you're looking at homes on some of those search sites that are 550 because you were taught, hey, we offer less than what it's listed for. Not going to work here. You're going to have your heart broken. I'm not even going to show you houses that are 500 in this current market. We're going to look at houses that are 480 because I know that they're not actually priced at what they're going to sell for. So you really need somebody who's going to be honest with you and set those expectations so that you can hit your time frames. We want you in a house when you move here. We don't want you sitting and chewing through your savings at the Navy Lodge.
And a good experienced agent will be able to show you, look, statistically, the sales in our market for the past 3 months are going for 100% of list price, and to be able to show you these facts. So, coming into it, okay, I'm going to have to get a house at 100%, list price.
Right. You can't automatically assume 30 grand is going to come off.
Right. We might be able to do that because, and I think Christina, you're going to talk about that, about negotiating. Like there are ways that we might be able to get you a deal. There's things to look for, but it's setting the expectations, and it depends on your expectations. Like I have this one amazing client. She's a dental hygienist. He's Navy. And she is the most detail-oriented client. So what I would think is turnkey, move-in ready, she would say was disgusting. And yet, one of their friends that they referred to me from the Navy school out in Rhode Island, they came like a month later, and they were in a totally different place. Just because they're friends doesn't even mean that their expectations. It was night and day experiences about what they want.
And it's totally person to person. I mean, you even mentioned earlier slight like communication styles and getting to know each family you're working with. I mean, you might have one where the wife is the leader in terms of choosing the house and the husband couldn't care less, or vice versa. Or I'm working with a family right now where the husband is in a workup cycle. So he's off and on the ship constantly and deading out constantly. So my primary mode of communication with them has been his ship email and her personal email.
Right.
If he were on shore all the time, we might do both personal emails or maybe a group text message, depending on what they prefer. But in this case, his ship email is the only way he's going to receive emails from me. So, it's that conversation of figuring out what's going to work best for that person.
One of my favorite things that I think this all boils down to, as far as the way we all work with our clients, is we're not salespeople. A lot of realtors are. We're the type that listen to what you want, and we're going to go find it. We're not going to try and sell you on a home that doesn't fit what you're looking for. We're going to try as hard as we can to find that close enough to perfect match for you, because it's going to sell itself once you walk in. So I think that's
the reality is the customers have to live there. We don't. So we need to make sure we're putting them somewhere that they're happy and they want to be. Whether it's 2 years or 11 years, doesn't matter. 20 years.
And word travels quickly in the military community. And so for us to stay in business and be successful and get referrals from past clients, we have to do a really good job. So we're not going to push you into something that's not going to go well, because it's not going to go well for us either. So.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves on that. And I feel like, I'm older than you guys, so I have that mother instinct going. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people get pushed into spending everything they're approved for, as opposed to what they're comfortable with or what their BAH is. And I think that's a matter of respect. Like I need to respect what your values are and what your situation is. And I don't want to ever sell a house because you couldn't handle it financially after.
Right.
So that's I had a client, they're both Navy, both active duty, and they came to me 6 months after buying the house, and it was too much for them. There's just the two of them and a dog. It was a 4-bedroom house. It was too much landscape, too much everything. And we ended up selling it 6 months later and moving them to a townhome because their agent had encouraged them to spend the full amount that they could qualify for.
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, that's something that a lot of big large lending companies don't talk about. Usually if you use a smaller local lender, they're kind of like us, where word of mouth is how we run our businesses. So they're going to tell you up front, yeah, you're approved for 450, but you can really afford 350, and having that conversation so you are happy and comfortable once you've bought your home and you're settled in.
And part of that is looking at your personal goal of a monthly mortgage or monthly like budget, and knowing, okay, well, I can spend maybe $1,600, which I realize would be in San Diego is not close to realistic for buying a house, but at least in Jacksonville, it's very realistic for a mortgage payment. I want to pay $1,600, which is what my BAH is, and then go to a lender and say, what does that translate to in terms of a full purchase amount?
Right.
Because there's going to be taxes, insurance, all these other fees, not just the mortgage, that lender, if they are working primarily with you, can help you make sure you're staying your goals, not someone else's.
And it's important when you're looking for a realtor where you're PCSing to, they can recommend a good lender for you who's getting the best interest rates, who's experienced with VA loans. Just know you don't have to go with Navy Federal and USAA. There are a lot of different options, and some of them can save you a considerable amount of money. So make sure you're talking to your agent once you decide on that right agent, because that will save you money in the long run. So
look to a future video for that.
yes, that one's going to be fun. So great. Well, we covered setting expectations and kind of what we do to get on the right track with our clients. And Melinda, you mentioned that I was going to talk about negotiating. So this is where it's kind of important to talk to whatever agent you're interviewing and find out, what's your experience in the business. Are you a part-time agent? Are you a full-time agent? What does your sales history look like? Because that's going to tell you if they're the right agent for you. I have 3 deals recently that altogether, let's see, one house I talked down to 60,000 off asking price. Another one was 80,000 off asking price. And the other one we got for half price.
There you go.
And all of these are in a seller's market. And really it's because I knew the situation for both parties. And I'm not trying to get either party in a situation that's uncomfortable for them. I'm not going to force someone to come down to where they're just broke and they're having to come with money to the closing table. Nothing like that. But what I want is a win-win for both sides, to be happy, for the seller to leave their house knowing they got the most they could and they can move on to their next adventure, and for the buyers to know that they got the best deal they could. So when they need to resell in 3 years because they're PCSing again, they're hopefully going to make money or at least break even, depending on the market. So it's important. But with those properties, it's, again, setting expectations, like you said, Melinda, those were very specific situations where I knew that I could talk them down. The one that we got for half price was because the agent who had listed it put it in the wrong MLS. So it had been on the market for a year because no one even knew it was there. And the seller was at the point where they just felt like they had a terrible lot and no one was going to take it. And so of course me and my buyer came in and said, oh, we'll take it. We'll take it for half price, and all the while we knew it was just because no one was seeing it. But my buyer got an insanely good deal. The seller's happy with what they got and they can move on. They don't have to worry about it sitting there for another year, but having an agent who knows the market, who knows the situation and knows that it's in the wrong MLS or whatever, so we can work for you and fight for you to get the best deal. And sometimes, if you're in an area where it's a seller's market and you can't talk them down, knowing how to make the terms so appealing that even though you're coming in with maybe a low offer, they just can't pass up that you can meet their closing date and you're not going to ask for repairs or XYZ. Right. So your agent can kind of hash out some of these scenarios with you and say, hey, I know you want to come in at this price. Why don't we make it really appealing in these other areas for them? So that way they're happy, you're happy, and we all get to the closing table,
Don't you think that kind of comes back to exactly how we started? It's the agents knowing what questions to ask of the other agents and what to look for. Like, you bring to mind somebody recently that it's a seller's market. It's a great house. It's all of that. And yet what I was able to find out was that the lady selling it was behind and on her payments. And so she needed out fast, so she didn't end up with a short sale or anything like that. So that our ability to close it, and again, that's a great lender choice, our ability to close a VA loan in 21 days. And I think that's going to bring us to Madeline's conversation about having the right vendors too. Not just lenders, but the right vendors to be able to act fast. So it's questions. There's so much to the what the agent can do for you other than just open the doors.
It's a really good point, because the one that went down considerably had only been on the market for 1 day. And
that's awesome.
The biggest deal for them was she had recently broke her foot. She was single and elderly. She couldn't do repairs, and who the heck was she going to call when everything is kind of shut down? You know, getting a contractor out to do repairs would be very difficult, and she needs to move soon. So being able to understand that and convey that to the buyers, to where the buyers are fine. They're going to remodel it anyways. So they said, don't worry about repairs. We'll do an inspection and make sure there's no major issues. But once they found out that the house is good, great, let's all move on to closing. And that was so much more important to that seller. So she's happy, and my client's got an incredible deal. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, negotiations is way more than just a purchase price. I mean, at least in Florida, it's a 10-page contract, or at least in Northeast Florida, it's a 10-page contract for a reason. There's a lot more going on in it than just the number you write down. So yeah, that's awesome. Good job on those deals, Christina.
Thanks. So speaking of how long the contract is, do you want to talk about what we do with managing deadlines and then also vendors?
Yeah. So, I mean, in general, buying a house can be a whirlwind, whether you're type A or type B. It's just a lot to sort of consider. You're moving to a new city, you're PCSing, you're packing up your whole house and having movers come and moving hopefully to an address that you haven't closed on yet. And it can be a lot. Part of what we do and why it's important to truly interview an agent is because you have to know and trust that we'll help you along the steps and get you